Hi guys, and welcome to Escape Wheel Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Sugess S431 GMT. You can also apply most of this review to the Seastern S436 GMT as well. I purchased this watch and expedited shipping so I could be the first to bring you a full review of this watch. I purchased it from the Seastern Mechanical Dive Watch store on AliExpress. This is the official Seastern store on AliExpress, and they also sell Sugess because they are sister companies. I did get a very small discount, but I still paid $250 to get it here, so as always, you can expect a straightforward and honest review from me. And if by the end of this review you find yourself wanting to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link in the video description that is to the store that I purchased it from. That is an affiliate link. Using that link nets this channel a little bit of commission and keeps it running. So thank you guys to anyone who's ever used my affiliate links in the past. I really can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate it. I like doing what I'm doing, and I can keep doing it because of you guys. So thank you. And speaking of appreciation, if you guys aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm creeping up on 10,000 subs, which is something I never thought was possible. But here we are. I love doing this. I love chatting with you guys. So please, if you aren't subscribed, click that little button down below. I really would appreciate that. But as we get into this watch, so the retail price for this watch is $235 US. That's before any taxes, sales, or coupons or anything like that. Currently, there's a $10 off coupon on the store, so just keep that in mind. And I know Seastern and Sugess, they do participate in sales, so you got to keep an eye on that for when those sales are coming. As for the color options, you have 4 choices that you can see here. You have the Sugess branded ones, which come in white, black, and dark blue. And then you have the Seastern branded one, which is a totally different dial layout following the old Steve McQueen Explorers. I had a really tough time deciding between these 3, but this is the one I obviously settled on, and I am very happy with it. But I think all colors look great. Watch case, bracelet, and clasp are made of stainless steel. It has a sapphire crystal, a screw-down crown, screw-down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Seiko NH34 automatic GMT movement. So for this review, I'm going to be focusing specifically on this watch. I'm not really going to talk about the San Martin too much. If you want to see them side by side, I did do a triple unboxing, which I'll leave up here, and that does have this watch side by side with the San Martin SN054. So if you want to see that, head to that link and watch that video. But for this, I'm just going to be concentrating on this. I will mention the San Martin from time to time, but mostly we'll just be talking about the watch. So I say enough chit chat. Let's get right into this full review. But before we do a quick wrist check today, wearing the Roland Retro Chronograph TV dial. I think it looks awesome. Absolutely awesome. Really enjoyed this watch. I just got it yesterday. But yeah, it's really nice, and the full review will be for this. If you want to see something right now, go check out this up here. And yeah, I do really like that watch though. It's so fun and funky. I love it. All right, so let's get to the dimensions. Got a bezel diameter of 40 millimeters, 12.7 millimeters thick, 20 millimeter lug width. Tip to lug tip is 48.2 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 1 link removed. It weighs just under 146 grams. So I think the size and the weight is great. I do wish it was just like a millimeter smaller. That would make it almost perfect. 40 millimeters is not for everyone. I think a watch like this would be perfect in like a 38.5 millimeter. But I do think it wears pretty good. I think it wears smaller than 40 millimeters. And I do like the way that it wears. You can see here, it is a little bit of a flat case, but I do think it still wears pretty good. So I'm going to go outside right now and put it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and I think it looks just fine. Got no issues with the size on it. It is a little bit of a flat case, but that's kind of typical with this style of watch. But I think it is short enough that it should wear fine on most wrists. The bracelet just falls straight down, so that's nice to see. But really nice, and you can see even under this oak tree, which is usually a problem. Yeah, got no issues reading the dial. Just the black against the white contrast. I mean, it's great. You can see there's kind of a green tinge to the indices, and that kind of happens anytime I'm outside, and I think that it's just because of the sun charging up the lume, because most of the time the lume just looks white. So yeah, it's pretty impressive lume, and yeah, I think it just kind of always is a little bit glowing. So just something to keep in mind. It doesn't look bad in my opinion. Definitely, I would prefer just a pure white, but I don't know if they can actually help it in this case. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go throw this on some straps, and we'll get back to the review. And here we are on a black rubber strap from Straps Co. I think it looks really good. Kind of matches and brings out those dial accents. I think it looks great. No problems with it. Very comfortable, fits nicely, and yeah, it looks really good. And here we are on a kind of army green canvas strap that I always think look good on these white dial watches, and this is no exception. It does kind of bring out the green tint of those indices and hands, but yeah, I do think it looks really good. Very comfortable. This is from Riche. We'll be leaving the link down below. And I just had to throw a little bit of color at it. This is an orange Barton silicone strap that I think really looks cool on this watch. Very fun, summery vibe to this one, and I dig it. I like it a lot, guys. What do you think? Here we are with a gray and orange stripe elastic strap. Not really a fan of the strap, but I think it looks pretty cool, and that gives you an idea of what it would look like with one layer underneath. And again, it's super comfortable, and I think, you know, a different strap in this color combo would be pretty awesome. And last, here we are on a leather 2-pass strap. I'm not going to say the word, but there's 2 layers underneath the watch there. This strap is lifted off of my Hamilton khaki field. So I don't know if you can buy this one or not, but that's how it looks. I think it looks fabulous. Looks really cool. Yeah, really happy with this one. And it's super comfortable too. But let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this. And case finishing is pretty nicely done. You have a kind of a radial brushing on this bezel here. Really plays with the light nicely. You've got nice engraved numerals here. They are filled with black paint. And you can see someone mentioned that the numerals are kind of pushed out towards the outer edge. And if you get real close, you can see they kind of are, but it's really not that big of a deal. And if you look at the San Martin close enough, they're pushed towards the inner edge a little bit, in my opinion. So neither one is perfect. I don't think it looks bad at all. And I do prefer kind of this more bold look to the numerals that the Sugess has. Yeah, I really like the bezel on this thing. I think it looks really good. They pull it off nicely. You can see you've got nice sharp transitions to the polished surfaces. You got a polished chamfer there, and then a polished underside to the bezel. Again, really nicely done. You got brushing on the tops of the lugs. The brushing is nice and neat. It might not be quite up to San Martin standard, but I'd say it's about 90% of the way there. Nice horizontal brushing on the side of the case here. Again, nice and tidy. The polished chamfers are done really nice. You get up real close to them, as you can see here. Nice sharp transitions between the brushed and polished surfaces. Yeah, I've got no complaints with the finishing on this. I think it's done really nice. You got a nice big 7mm signed crown here. Nice deep engraving of that S. I know some people don't like the S. I don't mind it too much. But yeah, I do think it looks pretty good. But yeah, the finishing on this watch is very nice. You know, Sugess and Seastern, they have kind of a sheen or a luster to their stainless steel that others really can't match. I think St. Martin and Chronos are probably the only other ones. So they're kind of on that level. They're really nicely done, and I'm very happy with it. Flipping it over to the case back here, you have a screw down case back with a coin edge in it. It's just a unsigned case back. I do wish they would use just simple notches to get a caseback removal tool in there. I don't like these casebacks. I never have, and I never will. They just need to ditch these, in my opinion. You do have circular brushing on the bottom of the lugs, and everything around here has been pretty nicely honed. This is maybe just a touch sharp, but really it's not. It's definitely better than the San Martin. That has a pretty sharp edge there. This one is nicely rounded off, I think, and it is you know, overall a very comfortable case. All right, so let's talk about the crystal. First things first, we will test it for sapphire. And it is sapphire. And it's a nice piece of sapphire crystal. It's got blue anti-reflective coating. It's not like an annoying blue or anything like that. It does work really good. You can see the window here. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice crystal. It is a box dome type crystal. You can see here, really nice and tall over that bezel. I think it looks great. It looks really good. Keeps that rehaut nice and thin, but allows room for the hand. So that's the advantage of these crystals. Not only do they look good, but they can kind of keep the profile of the case in check. And I think it all looks really, really good. Nice and clear towards the middle, and then a little bit of distortion on the edges. I'm very happy with the crystal. I've got no issues with it. All right, so let's talk about the dial on this thing. And the dial is really nice. This is everything that I hoped the San Martin would have been. I do like the San Martin dial, but this is the one that I wanted. It is just a stark white matte. It's not glossy, it's not sunburst, there's no texture, just a matte white dial, black applied indices. I think it looks fantastic. You have a simple date cut out there at the 3 o'clock. There's a little bit of a chamfer there, or a bevel, but yeah, it really just blends in nicely, and I'm very happy with it. The printing on the dial is nice and crisp. You have the black printed minute track around the outside. Then you've got the Sugess text there at the 12 o'clock. GMT, automatic in black, and then 100 meters, 330 feet in orange. That orange is just a little bit light in my opinion. If it was a couple shades darker to match the GMT hand, it would be a little bit better. It does get lost from time to time, and it's a little hard to read, but yeah, for the most part, it works just fine. You can see, getting up real close here, the surrounds to those indices, they are matte black, they're not a glossy black. So just the contrast of this dial is excellent. It's exactly what I wanted. You have matte black minute, hour, and second hand, orange GMT hand. All of those are matte finished. I mean, they just look really, really good. I'm very happy with them. They could be just a touch longer, I guess, but they're not short enough to bother me. I think a lot of people had the same complaint with the San Martin. They use shorter hands. That one never bothered me as well. I think they're nicely proportioned, and I think they look pretty good. You can see the daytime lume color matches under the studio lights. They match pretty good. You can see under my studio light here, you've got really nice color matching on the daytime lume. It's kind of a stark white, but when you back it off a little bit, and if you get it out in the daytime, it kind of has like a greenish hue to it, which is weird. BGW9 is usually a pure white, so I'm thinking they kind of mixed some C3 in here, and that's to boost the lume. So let's talk about the lume on this thing. And I'm going to pop up a lume shot here, and here you can see it against a couple other GMT watches in the collection. It has a super bright glow. It glows all the time. Walking around the house, coming in from outside, it's glowing. It's very strong. You can see here, I mean, it doesn't really fade at all. It is super strong. It is super even. Really happy with the Lume application on this thing. I can read it all night long. I've got no issues. This is one of the better watches that I have in my collection as far as Lume goes. It is really impressive. All right, so let's talk about the movement in this thing. So it is running the Seiko NH34 GMT automatic movement. Here's how mine is running. It's running very nicely. I've got zero complaints with that, plus 8 seconds a day, nice solid beat error. I'm happy with it. That's about what I expect from an NH movement, and this is no exception, so very happy with that. The movement is 21,600 beats per hour, so 6 ticks of the second hand every second. It hacks, it hand winds, it's accurate, it's reliable, it's cheap. You can find mod parts for it if you're into that. It's a perfect movement for a watch, in my opinion. I've got zero complaints with it. This one's running good. It is operated by this 3 o'clock screw down crown. It is signed with that S logo. Nice big crown, plenty of grip, got no problems with it. The screw in and screw out action, super smooth, which we'll talk about in just a second. You can see there a nice solid pop out from the NH34. First position, hand winds it. The second position is where you change your date and your GMT. So if you roll it forward, you are moving the GMT hand. It has a nice satisfying click into place. Very happy with that. You roll it backwards and that changes your date. So again, zero issues with that. Pull it out to the third position, hacks your movement there. And this is where you set your time, just like you normally would with a NH35 movement. Yeah, it works exactly how you would expect it to work. One thing I noted in my unboxing is the crown is a little wobbly. You can see it moving around here. I think that's because of the crown construction and not so much of the stem or how it's assembled or anything. And we'll talk about that right now. So typically when you thread a crown into a case, you're kind of fighting the resistance of the movement. You're actually winding the movement while you're threading it in. Well, this one is nice and spring loaded. So when you're threading this in and threading it out, you're not going against the movement. It is just ultra smooth. That puts less stress on the threads. So over time, I think you're going to put less wear on these threads because of this kind of spring-loaded crown. The downfall of that is that it kind of wobbles around. Not really an issue when you're setting the time on it. You know, just be a little careful and you'll be fine. But yeah, that's just something I noticed. I thought I would point out to you guys. It's really not that big of a deal to me, but it might be to you guys. So just something to note. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So the bracelet is 20 millimeters and it tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. It is comprised of 3 solid links, solid end links, female pivot end links, and everything is done really nice. The finishing on it matches the case very nicely. The end link fitment is just rock solid. Very happy with that. You can see here it follows the case curvature very nicely, and you can see they also stop short of the end links there, so it's keeping it just super compact. And these end links, they go straight down, so this is going to fit a lot of wrist sizes, and it's going to wear nicely on a lot of wrist sizes in my opinion. Very happy with the end links on them. Yeah, I think they look good and they're finished nicely. No issues with that. The links themselves are nicely finished as well, brushing on the top here and polishing on the sides. You do have screw pins for adjusting. I removed 1 link for my 7.5-inch wrist. It looks like there's about 4 more links to go. And then, then you have your adjustment of the clasp. So this clasp is very nice. It reminds me a lot of the Christopher Ward Trident Pro 600 clasp that I reviewed a while back. I mean, it would surprise me if it's not the same clasp, just rebranded. So it is brushed on the top, brushed on the sides, nice polished chamfer here. You got your Sugess branding there, which is nicely done. And then you've got some nice rounded off little pushers here, 2 button pushers. It opens the clasp fully milled inside here. Nice tight tolerances here. It opens and closes just as you would expect. I did notice this little thing here, so it's nicely finished here, brushed finish, and then it just kind of falls off. I don't know why they didn't completely finish this clasp. It's a very small minor complaint, but it is there. The main star of the show here is this on-the-fly adjustment. So hopefully you can be able to show it to you guys here. So you can adjust this smaller just by pushing it in, and then it won't expand until you kind of release this lever here, and then you can pull it out. And I measured that distance right there. That's about 8 millimeters. So you have 8 millimeters of quick adjustment. It's nice and solid. It feels good. Not quite as good as St. Martin's new clasp, but it works exactly like I want it to work and need it to work. And the clasp itself is very nicely done. It's nice and small, and it's not like overly long or anything. Nicely rounded. Everything is very comfortable. And I mean, the bracelet in general is very comfortable. I think it is more comfortable than the St. Martin bracelet. I do feel like the St. Martin bracelet is a little tighter, I guess. It has tighter tolerances, and it feels and sounds more solid when you're putting it on. But once it's on wrist, this one feels better in my opinion. This bottom edge here is nice and rounded. We know St. Martin's are a little bit sharp, so Sugess and Seastern, they do a good job rounding this bottom edge here. It's nice and flows nice. It doesn't pull hair or anything like that. I am very happy with the bracelet on this thing. It might not feel as solid, but it is more comfortable. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. And I mean, yeah, the tolerances on it aren't bad. They're just not as tight as the St. Martin, but it just leads to a more comfortable bracelet. And it's not like it's rattling around on wrist or anything like that. So overall, bracelet and clasp on this thing gets a thumbs up for me. I'm very happy with it. So there you go, guys. That is the new Sugess, and I guess you can apply this also to the Seastern GMT. Everything should apply to that except for the dial. That uses a little bit different lume, so probably not as good lume as this one has, but I think that it looks really cool. So yeah, just something to consider. But yeah, it is a really nice offering from Sugess and Seastern. Very happy with the case finishing, very happy with the bracelet. The movement is really nice, crystal's good, and the lume is just killer on this thing. On the fly adjust clasp, perfect. Yeah, I mean, what is not to like about this thing? If I'm giving a recommendation, I'm going to say get this over the St. Martin. The St. Martin kind of fluctuates in price. I can't really tell. It's about $300 or $280 or something like that. So you're saving a pretty good chunk. And I think this watch is, I would say, like 95% as good. And it does do better in some aspects of it. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. I'm very happy with this watch. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted. And thank you to Sugess for making this watch. No one else was making it, and you guys did. So thank you guys. It's kind of it's very close to my Grail watch. So yeah, really happy with this one. I think that's about it for me though. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.